The stage was set. The lights of the Oprah Winfrey Show burned bright, casting a warm glow over the iconic circular set. The audience buzzed with anticipation, their murmurs blending with the soft hum of studio equipment. Kelly Clarkson, the powerhouse singer and beloved talk show host in her own right, stepped onto the stage to promote her latest album, When the Light Comes. Her signature smile lit up the room, and the crowd erupted in applause. Oprah Winfrey, the queen of daytime television, greeted her with a warm hug, her presence commanding yet inviting. The atmosphere was electric, promising a heartfelt conversation between two titans of entertainment. But no one in that studio, or the millions watching at home, could have predicted the storm that was about to unfold. Kelly settled into the plush armchair across from Oprah, her denim jacket, an easy grin giving off her trademark approachable vibe. The audience leaned forward, eager to hear about the inspiration behind her new album, a deeply personal project born from her recent struggles with public scrutiny and personal reinvention. Oprah, ever the skilled interviewer, opened with a question about Kelly's journey, her voice smooth and encouraging. "Kelly, this album feels like a rebirth for you," Oprah began, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. "You've said it's about finding light in the dark. Can you share what that darkness looked like?" Kelly nodded, her expression softening. "It's been a tough couple of years, you know. The divorce, the media frenzy, balancing motherhood and my career, it's a lot. This album is me taking all that mess and turning it into something honest. Something that says, hey, it's okay to not be okay sometimes." The audience cooed in empathy, a few hands reaching for tissues. Oprah tilted her head, her smile warm but with a faint edge that only the most perceptive might notice. "That's beautiful, Kelly. But let's dig deeper. You've always been this beacon of positivity, this Miss Independent persona. Some might say it's a bit performative. Like maybe you're hiding behind that smile to avoid the real issues. What do you say to that?" The question landed like a pebble in a still pond, sending ripples through the studio. Kelly's smile faltered for a split second, her fingers tightening around the armrest. The audience shifted uncomfortably, a lone murmur rippling through the crowd. Other panelists on the set, guest co-hosts Gayle King and Dr. Phil, exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of surprise and unease. Kelly let out a small laugh, the kind that masked discomfort. "Performative?" she repeated, her Texas drawl softening the edge in her voice. "Oprah, I've been pretty open about my struggles. I mean, I've cried on my own show, talked about therapy, the whole deal. I don't think that's hiding." Oprah leaned forward, her hands clasped, her tone still warm but now laced with a probing intensity. "Oh, absolutely, you've shared a lot, and we love you for it. But there's a narrative out there, on social media, in the tabloids, that maybe you lean into this relatable image a little too hard. That it's a brand, not the real Kelly. I mean, you're a superstar. Can you really be that authentic all the time?" The studio went quiet, the silence so thick it seemed to hum. A camera swiveled, its soft whir audible in the stillness. Kelly's eyes narrowed slightly, her posture stiffening. Gayle King shifted in her seat, her lips parting as if to interject, but she hesitated. Dr. Phil adjusted his glasses, his face unreadable. The audience, sensing the shift, leaned forward, some pulling out their phones to record. "Oprah," Kelly said, her voice steady but with a hint of steel, "I don't think authenticity is something you can fake. I've been through real pain, real joy, real life. I put that in my music, in my show, in everything I do. If people think that's a brand, that's their problem, not mine." The crowd erupted in applause, a wave of support for Kelly's defiance. But Oprah didn't flinch. Her smile widened, a glint of challenge in her eyes. "But isn't that convenient, Kelly? You get to wear your heart on your sleeve, sell millions of records, and call it authenticity. Some might say you're capitalizing on your pain for profit. Where's the line between vulnerability and exploitation?" The question hit like a gut punch. Kelly's jaw tightened, her knuckles widening as she gripped the armrest. The audience gasped, a collective intake of breath that seemed to suck the air from the room. A woman in the front row covered her mouth, her eyes wide. Backstage, A producer in a headset whispered urgently to a colleague, gesturing toward the control room. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every flicker of emotion on Kelly's face. Exploitation? Kelly repeated, her voice trembling with a mix of hurt and anger. Oprah, I've spent my career being honest about who I am. I've shared my story to help people, to let them know they're not alone. You, of all people, should get that. You built your career on stories, on connection. Are you saying I'm exploiting my life because I turn my experiences into art? Oprah raised an eyebrow, unfazed. I'm just asking the question, Kelly. You're a savvy businesswoman. You know how this industry works. People love a redemption story, and you've got one. But when does it stop being a story and start being a strategy? I mean, you've got a talk show, a music career, endorsements. Everything's tied to this real Kelly image. It's a lot of pressure to keep that up, isn't it? The audience was divided now. Some clapped in support of Kelly, others whispered to their neighbors, unsure where to stand. Gayle King finally spoke up, her voice gentle but firm. Okay, let's take a step back. I think what Oprah's getting at is the balance between public and private life. Kelly, you've done an incredible job navigating that. But Oprah cut her off, her tone sharp. No, Gayle, I'm asking about accountability. If you're going to put your life out there, you've got to be ready for people to question it. Right, Kelly? Kelly's eyes flashed, her voice low but piercing. Question it? Sure. But this feels like an accusation. You're implying I'm some kind of fraud, Oprah. That's not a question, that's a judgment. The studio was a pressure cooker now. The audience sat on the edge of their seats, some filming, others clutching their hands in nervous anticipation. Dr. Phil cleared his throat, attempting to defuse the situation. Well, I think what we're seeing here is two strong women with different perspectives, he began, but his words were drowned out by the rising tension. Backstage, producers scrambled. One hissed into a headset. Do we cut to commercial? This is getting out of hand. Another shook their head, eyes glued to the monitors. The moment was too raw, too real to interrupt. It was television gold, even if it was a disaster in the making. Kelly leaned forward, her voice steady but laced with emotion. Oprah, I respect you. You've done so much for so many. But you don't get to sit there and twist my life into something it's not. I've fought hard to be where I am, to be honest with my fans, with myself. I've been through hell, and I've come out stronger. If you think that's exploitation, then maybe you need to look at your own platform. The audience erupted, a mix of cheers and gasps. Oprah's smile faltered for the first time, her hands gripping the edge of her desk. The cameras caught it all, the tremor in Kelly's voice, the shock in Oprah's eyes, the uneasy glances between Gayle and Dr. Phil. The moment was spiraling, and no one knew where it would land. What happened next would go down in television history. But was Kelly right to push back, or did Oprah have a point? Stay tuned for part 2 of this explosive clash, and share your thoughts in the comments below. The studio of The Oprah Winfrey Show was a pressure cooker, the air thick with tension. Kelly Clarkson's words hung like a thunderclap. If you think that's exploitation, then maybe you need to look at your own platform. The audience was a sea of wide eyes and open mouths, some cheering, others frozen in shock. Oprah Winfrey, the unflappable queen of talk shows, sat momentarily speechless, her hands gripping the desk. The cameras zoomed in, capturing the tremor in Kelly's voice and the flicker of surprise in Oprah's eyes. Gayle King and Dr. Phil exchanged uneasy glances, while backstage, producers whispered frantically into headsets. This was no longer an interview. It was a showdown, and the world was watching. Oprah recovered quickly, her smile returning but now tinged with a steely edge. She leaned back in her chair, her voice calm but cutting. Kelly, I'm not questioning your heart. I'm asking about intention. You've built an empire on being relatable, but doesn't that come with a responsibility? When you share your pain, your divorce, your struggles with mental health, are you doing it for healing, or for headlines? The question sliced through the room. The audience gasped, a collective inhale that seemed to pull the oxygen from the studio. A woman in the second row clutched her friend's arm, whispering, She didn't just say that. Another audience member raised their phone, the red recording light glowing. Backstage, a producer muttered, "We're going viral, whether we like it or not." Kelly's face flushed, her eyes narrowing as she leaned forward. Her voice was low, almost a growl, but every word carried the weight of her conviction. "Oprah, I share my story because I know what it's like to feel alone. To feel like you're drowning and no one sees you. I've been that girl from Texas who didn't think she'd make it. If my music, my show, my life helps one person feel seen, then it's worth every headline, every critic, every judgment you throw at me." The crowd erupted in applause, a wave of support that shook the studio. Some stood clapping fiercely, while others wiped tears from their eyes. Gayle King tried to interject, her voice soft but urgent. "I think what Kelly's saying is so powerful, and maybe we can." But Oprah raised a hand, silencing her co-host without breaking eye contact with Kelly. "That's a beautiful sentiment," Oprah said, her tone now laced with a patronizing edge. "But let's be real, Kelly. You're not just helping people, you're selling albums, filling seats, building a brand. Isn't there a part of you that wonders if you're using your pain to keep the machine running? I mean, you've got a talk show, a music career, a clothing line. It's all tied to this authentic Kelly Clarkson. How do you sleep at night knowing you're profiting off your personal struggles?" The studio fell silent, the kind of silence that presses against your eardrums. Kelly's jaw clenched, her hands balling into fists in her lap. The cameras caught every detail, the slight tremble in her fingers, the way her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Dr. Phil shifted uncomfortably, his fingers tapping his knee as if debating whether to speak. The audience was a mix of stunned faces and fervent whispers, some nodding in agreement with Oprah, others glaring at her in disbelief. Kelly took a deep breath, her voice steady but raw with emotion. "You know what, Oprah? I'm done. I came here to talk about my music, my heart, my truth. But you're twisting it into something ugly, something I don't even recognize. You want to talk about profiting off pain? Look around you." She gestured to the lavish set, the glowing lights, the sea of cameras. "You built an empire on people's stories, mine, theirs, everyone's. And now you're sitting there, judging me for doing the same thing? At least I'm honest about who I am." The audience exploded, a mix of cheers, gasps, and scattered boos. A man in the back row stood, clapping so hard his hands turned red. A woman nearby covered her face, tears streaming down her cheeks. Backstage, a producer threw up their hands, mouthing, "Cut to commercial!" But the directors shook their head, too captivated to stop the feed. The moment was raw, unscripted, and unstoppable. Oprah's composure cracked, her smile replaced by a tight-lipped stare. "Kelly, I'm not judging you. I'm holding you accountable. You're a public figure, and people have a right to question." "Question?" Kelly cut her off, standing now, her voice rising. "This isn't questioning, Oprah. This is tearing me down on live TV for ratings. You want accountability? How about you account for why you think it's okay to shame someone for their truth? I've spent years fighting to be enough, for my kids, my fans, myself. And I'm not going to let you, or anyone, tell me that's not real." The studio was chaos now. The audience was on its feet, some chanting Kelly's name, others shouting at Oprah. Gayle King stood, her hands raised in a futile attempt to calm the crowd. Dr. Phil leaned forward, finally speaking. "Okay, folks, let's take a breath. This is getting heated, but it's a chance to learn." His words were drowned out by the roar of the crowd. Kelly turned to the audience, her eyes blazing with conviction. "You know why I do this? Because I believe in being real. I believe in showing up, even when it's hard. And if that makes me a brand, or a product, or whatever you want to call it, fine. But don't you dare tell me I'm not authentic. Don't you dare tell me I'm not enough." With that, Kelly ripped off her microphone, the sharp click echoing through the studio. She turned and walked off the set, her boots clicking against the polished floor. The audience was a mix of stunned silence and thunderous applause, some standing to cheer her on, others filming the moment with shaking hands. The cameras followed her, capturing the sway of her denim jacket as she disappeared through the stage door. Oprah sat frozen, her hands still gripping the desk. For the first time in her storied career, she looked rattled, her eyes darting to the producers offstage. Gayle King rushed to fill the silence, her voice overly bright. "Well, that was intense. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back." The feed cut to commercial, but not before the cameras caught Oprah's tight smile and the chaos in the control room. Backstage, producers scrambled, shouting into headsets. "Get her back!" one demanded, while another shook their head, muttering, "This is going viral." Security hovered near the stage door, unsure whether to follow Kelly or stay put. The audience buzzed, already posting clips to social media, hashtags like hashtag Kelly vs. Oprah and hashtag authenticity matters trending within minutes. In the hours that followed, the internet exploded. Clips of Kelly's walkout spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views on X, TikTok, and YouTube. Commentators dissected the clash, some praising Kelly's courage, others questioning whether she overreacted. Tabloids ran headlines like, "Kelly Clarkson storms off Oprah's show," and "Oprah's takedown backfires." Fans flooded Kelly's social media with support, sharing stories of how her music and openness had touched their lives. Critics, meanwhile, debated whether Oprah's questions were fair or a step too far. Kelly herself posted a cryptic message on X. "Be real. Be kind. Be enough. Thanks for the love, y'all. Hashtag when the light comes." Oprah remained silent, but sources close to the show hinted at regret in the production team. The clash became a cultural touchstone, sparking debates about authenticity, vulnerability, and the ethics of talk show interrogations. Kelly Clarkson's stand was more than a moment, it was a statement. In the face of scrutiny, she chose dignity over deference, truth over compliance. The clash with Oprah reminded the world that authenticity isn't a brand to be questioned, it's a lifeline for those who dare to share it. But it also raised a deeper question: where is the line between holding someone accountable and tearing them down? Was Oprah pushing for truth, or chasing headlines of her own? What do you think? Was Kelly right to walk out, or did Oprah have a point? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep this conversation going. This moment is now part of television history. Don't miss out on being part of it.